Let's dive into what public and private keys are. Now, you might be wondering there are hundreds of thousands of computers, there's clearly billions and now trillions of dollars being passed around on chain, there's a lot of money being verified and validated. Before we get into how these transactions are done and in the form of Bitcoin or Ethereum or other chains and coins, well, let's talk about an important piece, which are public and private keys. These are the access points of how you access an address. So you remember that websites have email addresses, they have website addresses, and every address has a number attached to it. So like an IP address is associated with your Wi-Fi router or your point of address of how you are connected to the internet. It's the same thing with blockchain networks. And key security is hidden in plain sight. So when you set up an address to connect to the blockchain networks, you are given a public or private key. Each entity is represented with a unique public key, and a corresponding private key acts as a similar key to unlock the public key to access. So you can think about it as a mailbox key and house addresses. So you know what the public address is, you know your actual house address, and the mailbox key lets you enter or access private information. So this is information just to talk about how to access your actual wallet. So we'll go into what a ledger, a crypto wallet is in the later portion of the section. But I want to mention now that private keys are unique. They're given to you when you open up your first account. The normal word is a seed phrase, so you may have heard of this before. It's where you keep, send, store, receive transactions. So you as an individual will hold your wallet. It may be a warm or cold storage unit. Warm would be warm storage wallets would be like a cell phone. Cold storage wallet would be something, either you wrote it on a piece of paper, you memorized the seed phrase, or you have it in a USB drive, which is a ledger that has multiple forms of security. And it would be once you plug it in or you turn on your phone or a USB or you type in your seed phrase into the address, you actually access the chain. So you're online, you're accessing the public networks. So when you do a transaction on chain, there actually is digital signature every time you do this. So recipients are given the message and signature to verify, there's an origin, the integrity of the message, and non-repudiation. So there's some points where you can understand what's happening behind a signature between the sender and receiver. And when I'm talking about a signature, it's actually just saying that something's happening from point A to point B, and then someone can verify it on chain. So you may realize that having one key or one seed phrase to access, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of coin might seem like an attack vector, and it's true. So any single person could be can be under threat, if they hold a lot of money or a lot of assets on chain or in their one address. Uh, so to get beyond this, the blockchain networks have figured out how to have multiple signatures to access a specific address. So you could have two people sign in out of three to access a specific account. No different from a bank or any other security network. It's one way to solve, let's think of it like a two-factor authentication. I'm going to reference this now since we shall define it. We'll define it more in other sections, but you've heard of the term smart contract, about how the code facilitates or enforces the negotiation of a digital contract. It's an expansion of this idea of digital signatures and messages, and the trusted entity will run this code and then make transactions transparent, and you can trace them, what's happening on chain. So to conclude, digital wallets can have multiple signatures, they'll have privacy, they'll have network connections, whether it's full or third parties. And then you can hold a key, or you can have Coinbase or another application hold a key for you. So these are features that are included in wallets. And as mentioned, here are the two different types of wallets. And there's a warm storage and there's cold storage. So warm storage are smartphone apps, online wallets like Coinbase on the left, Cold storage is either you write it by hand on paper, so you write down your private key or your seed phrase, hardware, and brain wallets. The hardware right here, the ledger we mentioned, is something that you can actually buy and secure your assets on this USB drive, and it has its own encryption protocol.